Welcome to Path to Peace with Todd Perlmutter. I'm your host, Todd Perlmutter. Our world is a projection of our collective consciousness. The more peace we bring into our lives, the more peace we bring into this world. So let the transformation begin. Before we get into how to make the right decision, we have to talk about why we have trouble making it and what is preventing us from moving forward, from having that clarity. And there are three things that make it difficult to see that right decision. And that first one is fear. Fear that we'll make the wrong choice. Fear that the choice we make will turn out bad, that we'll regret it, and fear that even if it does go good, exactly to plan, that the alternative would have been better. This is really the number one cause of why we have a difficult time making a decision. That fear is paralysis. That fear is the most negative, worst-case scenario generating ego. And that fear is caused by the second reason we have a hard time making a decision. And that second reason, and that drives the fear-based ego, is this belief. Belief is the second reason. Belief in two things. Belief that there is a right and wrong decision, and so we put so much pressure on ourselves. And the second thing is often a belief in lack. Not just a lack of resources, and that we think, if we're making a business decision, we think that the chances of failure are too high because there's just not enough success to go around. But the second thing is a belief in a lack of support in this universe, a lack of faith in this miraculous universe. We believe things are random, chaotic. We've been through hard times that seemed meaningless, pointless, and unnecessarily cruel. And so we believe things work out like that. But the truth is, and I'll get to this more in a few minutes, but everything we've ever experienced has led us to this miraculous opportunity to have choice. Choice itself is a blessing, not the outcome of whether we made the right choice, but simply choice is freedom. It is a miracle. It is such a blessing to simply have options and to recognize those options. Not everybody sees options. Most people feel stuck. And even if you are stuck in fear of making the wrong choice, you are blessed with the gift of options. And it is a wonderful, freeing place to be. And the third reason we all have a hard time making a choice, being able to create a moment of stillness before making that big decision so that we can think and see clearly, is the more practical reason. And that is feeling unprepared, feeling like our plan isn't fully fleshed out, feeling like we have a little more work to do to prepare and be fully confident that we're really ready to move on to make this big change, or to even have just that tough conversation. So let's address these one at a time, and by the end, hopefully you'll be ready to take that choice, make that action, and move forward. And that first big hurdle, the biggest hurdle, is fear. Fear of making that wrong choice, making a big mistake, making some decision that we can't take back. And the biggest thing we can do to overcome this fear is to counterbalance it by recognizing that inaction, procrastination, delay, not moving forward, is the worst choice that we can make. Now, this doesn't mean we can't choose to stay. Choose to not bring up a topic with someone that's been troubling us. Choose not to quit our job. Whatever that choice is, we can choose to remain. But that is the choice. We're not delaying it. We're not avoiding it. We're moving forward in that option. And we set that conflict to rest, and we move forward. And we make the best of our situation. Inaction, delaying, procrastinating, putting it off, that is the worst thing we can do, because that delays our life. That keeps the conflict festering underneath us. And when we clearly see that the avoidance of doing what is hard, which is making that choice, is 10 times harder, makes our lives 10 times worse, then we feel that drive to make that choice and commit to it. Fear is very insidious, and we have to become aware of how it manifests in our life, because it rarely says, I'm scared, I'm afraid. It usually says, I'm protecting you. This is for your own good. Trust me, that would be a bad choice. I'm keeping you safe. Don't trust your gut. Don't follow your intuition. That would not be smart. Failure is that way. Don't go that way. It usually manifests as pessimism, as negativity. And it won't even tell you it's being pessimistic or negative. It'll say, I'm being realistic. These are just the facts. But here is the real truth. Nobody knows the future. Not your ego that is terrified, and not anyone else, which is being negative and ultimately suffering from always being negative and afraid. So the best case scenario, being pessimistic, is you will be right and miserable. And the worst case scenario is you'll be wrong and miserable. And there is no guarantee you'll be right. If you are optimistic, worst case scenario, you will be happy and wrong. And best case scenario, happy and right. And it's maybe 50-50. I mean, you'll use your judgment. You'll know what the odds are. But this notion of realism is an illusion. There is no realistic, because nobody can predict the future. You could succeed, you could, go back to school and become a doctor, and you could hate being a doctor, and you might even go back to being whatever you were before. There's no guarantees. We may move to the city of our dreams and hate it and move right back. So the only rational way to go through life is to make decisions, to explore, to see what happens, and to always realize we can go back, we can change again, we can try something else new. It is only fear that tells us that if what we try fails, that we have no options at that point. But we have options now, we'll have options then. We always have a choice. There is no failure, there is no regret, there is no mistake, because we still are alive, we're breathing, and we have choice. And this is the most important way that we can truly overcome that fear. And it's counterintuitive, but it is vital. And that is to listen to your fear. Now, I don't mean obey it. I don't mean cave into it. But if we want to overcome fear, we have to face our fear. And I don't mean what we're afraid of. I mean fear of the fear. We have to allow it to serve its purpose. It is trying to protect us. It does have a say in the matter, and it sometimes is right. Sometimes it's saying, hey, think this through. And so the best way to overcome fear is allow it to serve its purpose. Let yourself have that inner debate. Give yourself time to really think about it. Sometimes we do need to spend a day, 2 days, 3 days, a week, really thinking about this choice all the way through. Sometimes by the end of the week, the change we want to make, that desire, disappears because our situation naturally resolves itself. So it is vital to reflect, to meditate, to let all those voices have their say so that your highest self can make an informed decision. Sometimes we have a bad day at work and we storm into or we want to storm into the boss's office and tell him where he can shove it or she can shove it. And, we just want to act on that anger and rage from a bad moment. And sometimes the fear coming in and saying, wait, we don't have a job lined up. This was a bad day. Maybe we won't feel the same way tomorrow. So let's just take a breath. That's a good fear. That's a good voice. There's a great story by Larry David, who created Seinfeld with Jerry Seinfeld. And he was a writer at Saturday Night Live, and none of his sketches were making it on the show. They were getting killed in the dress rehearsals, and they'd do great in the read-throughs on Monday or Tuesday, and by Friday they'd be dead, and he didn't get any sketches to air on Saturday night. And he walked into the boss's office on Saturday night and screamed at him. He's like, I quit. This is the worst place ever. I'd never work here. You all can go to hell. And stormed out of the office. He goes home. He tells his neighbor what happened. And he says, oh my God, I think I made a huge mistake. This was a giant TV job. I was making so much money. I need that money really bad to pay my bills. What was I thinking? And his neighbor, who was the inspiration for Kramer on the TV show Seinfeld, who always had wacky ideas, said, why don't you just go to work on Monday and pretend like it never happened? And so that's what he does. He walks by his boss that he yelled at, pretending like nothing ever happened. And the boss gets on with the meeting, and he had his job back. And so that is just one instance where, listening to that fear voice would actually serve you well. And, he finally did quit Saturday Night Live, and he started the biggest sitcom of all time, and it all worked out. So this is how we overcome the fear, is we give it its place. We don't fight it. We don't run away from it. We face it. We accept it. We allow it to be. It's not the scary monster, and we have the final say with wisdom and hopefully responsibility. The second reason we have a hard time making choices is our belief in this binary right and wrong framework, that there is a wrong choice and we could make it. The truth is, there are no wrong choices or right choices in life. This mindset often comes from school, where year after year we take these tests and there is a right one and a wrong one. And we think it's preparing us for the real world, but the real world is there's creative alternatives. There's no A and B. There's creative solutions that are out of the box thinking that can be far more successful than those typical paths of A and B. But the reality is, every time we make a choice, we are creating a branch of possibilities. And this branch has many little branches coming off of it. And we don't know what outcome will end up taking place. But we do know that every branch, like every tree, the branch has branches. And each little branch on a branch has many branches. And every choice we make creates many possible outcomes. And each outcome has many choices with many more possible outcomes. And this creates that big, beautiful tree. That tree of our lives. There's no going back, but there's always more exciting opportunities and choices the higher that tree grows. And we grow it by moving forward. And we know no matter what choice we make, there will be flowers, there will be fruits, and beautiful leaves. As long as we keep moving forward, keep making choices, making the most of those choices, learning and gaining wisdom, there's no dead end. There's just a bigger, more beautiful tree. So don't put any weight or pressure on any one choice. Trust yourself. Because if you put pressure on yourself, you're putting stress on those branches. And with too much weight from the pressure and stress, those branches can break. There's no one branch that's the most important. With a sturdy foundation built from patience and wisdom and presence, you can trust that life flowing through you and keep that tree growing. You know what's best for you. You just have to trust yourself. The third reason that we get stuck, that we feel paralyzed and unable to make a choice, is due to a lack of preparation, a lack of proper planning and consideration. Because when we feel that no matter what happens, we know it's the right choice, making any choice becomes easy. One of the biggest choices I made in my life was leaving an incredible job that I actually loved, which was a creative director in advertising at a phenomenal company in New York City. And I had an experience with a shaman and a guru by total accident. And it lit this spark in me where I had to learn more about spirituality, where I had to realize if there was more to life than partying and having fun and pleasures and luxury. I felt such a strong calling to fly to India with a one-way ticket, giving up all of my belongings, giving up my apartment, and going to learn about this thing called spirituality, which I knew nothing about, and writing a book about it to help others. I decided to continue working for a year, and it turned into 2 years because I was trying to save enough money to feel comfortable and confident to take this time off. I was planning to spend maybe a year traveling the world, living in ashrams and monasteries and in tribes with shamans and learning all about spirituality. I worked 2 jobs for much of that time, one remote at night and the other my day job. And when I finally reached my savings goal, I took off, and it was pretty easy at that point. There was no second guessing. I knew that even if I failed, even if nothing ever came of it, I never got a book deal, or I had to go back to being a creative director, that year would be one of the greatest years of my life. That there was no chance that could be a regret, because the adventure, the journey was the point. That was the excitement, not the outcome, which may or may not have happened. It just so happened that I did finish that book. I had the most incredible 10-year journey that started. I met my future wife on that journey, which was definitely not the plan. But by staying open, staying present, and listening to my intuition, I was able to keep moving forward into a life more beautiful, more magical, more unexpected, more joyful and peaceful than I ever could have imagined. So study that fear. Give it space. Remember, there is no right or wrong. There is only this amazing adventure of life. Do your homework. Be prepared. Reflect and meditate on your choice with clarity. Trust yourself in this incredible universe. Stay open to the unexpected, to new opportunities. Make peace with whatever outcome could happen. Don't put too much weight on any choice and keep moving forward. Only then can you build that big, beautiful life that was truly meant for just you. I talk about this topic a lot in much more detail and about how to deal with regret, fear of mistakes, and failures in the audiobook Aloneness to Oneness, which is read by me, and you can get that now on Amazon or Audible. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for your support on eastwesticism.org, Patreon, or Buy Me a Coffee, or YouTube. Your support keeps the studio lights on, and I couldn't do it without you. Even if it's just leaving a review, subscribing, sharing a comment, or sharing it with a friend. Thank you, and much love. Is there more to this universe than science can show us? Is there anything mystical or miraculous in the remote corners of the earth that I could see with my own two eyes? My newest book, Aloneness to Oneness, is that journey of discovery. From the rebellious kid who rejected it all, to the adult searching for something deeper, to the person I am today. It is all of the stories, wisdom, lessons, insights, and inspirations I gained on this adventure. If you've ever questioned, doubted, or wondered about the meaning of it all, this book is for you.